Alright, welcome everybody to the speedrun tutorial for OneShot Any Percent. My name is Lordy Punnykins, and I'm currently 4th on the leaderboards for this category, but a lot of stuff goes into that, so I still think I know enough to give you a tutorial, so I'll do it. The first thing I want to do is make sure you have everything done pre-run, because you do want to do a bit of pre-run setup for the game before your run actually starts. First thing, you hit Windows key R, and then open up your app data. Go to OneShot, and just delete the folder. That's how you're going to be resetting in between runs. Resetting your data, that is. So, that way you don't have to do any extra complicated stuff. I'm going to get live split open as well. You don't have to do any complicated stuff that way to get your game back to the freshest state possible to do a run. I have live split open. I'll get into that in a bit. But for your next step, you're going to want to go into your Steam folder. I have it right here. You're going to want to go into Steam Apps and then Common, and then find your OneShot folder, because the underscore file is here. If you've probably played this game if you want to speedrun it. You may remember this file from a point later in the game. In the Common folder, in the Steam Apps folder, this file is always here when usually it only appears at a certain part in the game. So it's good to have that up so you don't have to worry about it the whole time. And the last thing I'm going to do is get my documents open. Now, there's two documents I have here. If you're using Windows 10, the OneDrive documents is not the place you want to go. You want to go to this PC's documents. It can be kind of confusing. I mess it up sometimes, but once you have all of those open, what you can do is get the game running. So, first thing I'm going to do before I start the run is I'm going to go to the settings and turn on colorblind mode. This will make one puzzle different that we're going to be doing in the run. It's going to be making a puzzle right at the beginning of the game not only easier, but it'll also skip one text box in the whole run, which is why it's faster. But with that, you can start. The timer does not actually start. My timer is working, which is good. The timer does not actually start. I don't know what's happening. Live split's being weird. I'm going to open up my actual layout and open up my one-shot splits, because you might see something. You would see something if I would move to display capture, but you can keep going through the game and the timer's not going to start here. But now I'm on display capture. I'm going to start the timer so the timer begins when you gain control of Nico. So when Nico finishes stepping out of the bed. So you see I have my timer set to negative 0.54 seconds, or 32 frames. If I press my split key and the button to advance the text at the same time on that third text box, I'll gain control of Nico just as the timer hits 0, and that'll be the best way to accurately start your timer. So, one thing about this run, you're always going to want to hold your run button, because it's just so much faster. And so, you just got to move around with the run button is the main way for movement. And what you want to do once you're in the starting area is you immediately want to go to this branch. What I prefer to do, and then after the branch, you want to go to the TV remote. One thing for text mashing, I'm just going to mash the text here. The best way to mash text is to repeatedly press both your confirm and cancel button, because that way you'll have mashing speed from two different hands on two different keys, so you can kind of mash with the speed of both hands. So you want to equip the TV remote and then go up to this window and get the password. You can read it really fast when you're more used to it. And then you want to go over to this computer and enter the password. Usually numbers not near the middle are good, so like 1 is perfect. If you get a number that's higher than 5, you want to press down, because that can get you from 9 to 6 faster than it can from going up. But you just mainly want to enter the password, because that's how you progress. When you enter the password, you unlock the door after talking to this computer. There's 11 text boxes here, and then if you remember the game, I'm still in display capture, I just realized, but you have these text boxes here that are kind of like the Windows text boxes. I can close this, by the way. But what you can do with these is if I just hit if I get the game set up right, if I just hit enter, it'll go through that text box. So that's one way to make mashing when the entity is talking to you a lot easier. So once you're done with that, you want to go out of the room and go to the fridge. As soon as you go to make the fridge, you want to dip the branch in the alcohol and equip the branch. Run over to the TV, light it on fire, and then light the fireplace. Get the basement key, immediately collect the basement key, and then go down these stairs. You can't run on the stairs, so you can hold shift so you can start running as soon as you get here. Here you want to mash, because as soon as the camera stops moving to the right, when you press a button, it'll move back to the left. Here, I don't know if mashing is actually faster. I just kind of do it out of instinct. It feels faster, so I'll usually do that. I'll just, like, run my hand. Maybe not, like, the full mashing technique, just maybe my left hand, like, alternating between Z and X during cutscenes to hope it'll advance the cutscene. Sometime, I like to do it on these stairs. You don't have to do it on these stairs. You want to equip the light bulb. If you don't like to do it on the stairs, all you have to do is just equip it before you get to this door, because you have to use the light bulb on this door in order to open it. And that's going to be the house. You're just going to wait for this cutscene. You can split wherever you'd like. I know some people split when that flash of white happens. I personally split when, right there, when the fade out of the gameplay completely disappears and opens the area. And once we get into the Barrens here, the Barrens is the first major area of the game, this is going to be the huge part, because now what we have is the ability to fast travel, where we will be able to fast travel to any screen we previously visited. And this is going to be one of the greatest things for the speedrun that you can use, and not only for going around areas fast, but for a reason you'll see later. But for now, what you just want to do is get up to the docks as fast as possible. And as soon as you do that, you're gonna open your menu and fast travel back to the entrance. And it will just fast travel you back to that part of the screen, and that'll be important in the reason I'll explain in a few minutes. Here, I like to use that dust pile as a visual cue when you go to the outpost. You can go to the outpost farther above, but one thing you want to make sure you do is that when you walk close enough to Profitbot here to activate him and his dialogue, that you're on the same kind of area vertically as him, because he'll usually walk to have one tile of space between you and him. And so if you're on the same vertical level as him, he'll walk the minimum amount of tiles, because he won't have to walk up or down at all to get to where he wants to be. So once that happens, you want to mash this cutscene. And one thing about mashing in this game is that it can kind of come at you unexpectedly. So one thing you want to have is visual cues for when to stop mashing as intensely, because you're about to do something that might be important to the run. So like when Profitbot starts spinning there, you might have seen him spinning. That's when you have to get ready to flick down twice to talk about the computer, because the computer is the important thing. Now you're going to keep mashing for a bit. Here is a kind of selection box. Soon after the screen turns black, you're going to click yes, because if you click no, you have to rename yourself, and that's just really slow. And then soon after the fade out comes back, you get back to the selection box where you can talk about more things, and you want to press your cancel button to not have to talk about anything else. And then immediately, you mash out of that cutscene, go up to the docks, fast travel to the docks, and you want to quit the game. Now, the thing about quitting the game is you see here it says running. As soon as the game stops running, according to Steam, that's when I like to press open it back up. And you might also notice that my Steam is in offline mode. The game tends to load faster while in offline mode. And if you're... so that's why I like to have it up. You may notice since I'm on window capture, that little Steam tab showed up. That's kind of something that's not very good to playing with window capture, but window capture will immediately notice when the game comes back up, as opposed to game capture, which takes a little bit. So as soon as Nico wakes up, you can mash through that dream cutscene, and then you can immediately mash through all the text after it. So this just happened, and I'm actually very glad this happened in the tutorial so I can talk about it. This is a text crash. If you do certain inputs involving the confirm and cancel button at exactly the right time during a selection text box, like this yes, no, you can get this error where the game doesn't really know what to do because you press the text options so quickly that you press both of them at the same time. And if that's the case, your game crashes. So I open Task Manager and try and force crash the game through Task Manager. This can be really bad in the speedrun, because not only does, as you see, it takes a little bit for the game to force crash, but also, you didn't manually save. so you can get sent back. As you see, I'm at the beginning of this dream now. The game does autosave at important points, including every time the game closes. But if that happens, unless you want to reset, in which case I showed how to delete your data at the beginning of the video, what you want to do is just get back to wherever you were in the run. Unless you're purposely mashing slower, there's no way to prevent a text crash other than just knowing every selection box specifically. But text crashes are still kind of specific with how they work, that it's hard to prevent without mashing slow. But once you are done with that text, you want to run over here and grab this metal bar. Go to the outpost, and then before you do anything, you want to make this metal bar into the crowbar, which means you're going to have to equip it anytime between collecting it and taking it to this machine. There's a huge pause between that text box and the item being made, which is good for trying to get your hands back set up to play the game. And now this is where a major movement technique comes into the game. This is a super fast travel. So a little property you'll see about the fast travel is it doesn't remember your last place on a screen if you fast travel from one screen to the other. It always just sends you to a specific area on the screen. And the cliffs is the first place where this comes into play. For the cliffs, as you might see, we load into the cliffs like all the way over here. So what it's actually faster to do on some screens, and the cliffs is the first time this happens in the run, it's faster to fast travel off of the screen and then fast travel back on, because getting to this point by just running is slower than what I just did. So you have to super fast travel there by fast traveling. I'll do it one more time. As soon as you load the screen, fast travel off the cliffs and then back on and then run upwards. And our next stop is going to be the lookout point. The fastest way to get to the lookout point being the way I'm running right now. And once you're here, you're going to do another super fast travel. So here's a super fast travel where I don't waste time showing off everything. That's what it should look like every time you do a super fast travel. Just flick one position up on the fast travel menu. Enter this house, talk to Silver. As soon as the text finishes, you're going to want to take the screwdriver and leave. I like to, as a visual cue, go one step below that bottom clover. And then when you go to the mines, you want to talk to the right rope, because while you can run, Silver does not run. So when you talk to the right side of the rope, Silver walks to the left side of it, meaning that's one less walking tile, but one more running tile. So it's a very minor time save. And then you get into the mines, collect that camera you saw me get, and then mash through that cutscene after going to the right side of the mines. When Silver walks off the screen is a good visual cue that you have to start running to the left. And then this cutscene, there's a huge fade out before it allows you to fast travel. But now that you've done that, you want to run up to this box here. And I'm going to equip the crowbar, get the solar battery, and then I'm going to do screwdriver camera, lens broken battery, light bulb empty battery. And I specifically do light bulb empty battery because immediately goes on charge battery. It may seem easier to do empty battery light bulb because you're already like right here in your menu, but then you have to flick back down when you get to the charged battery. But you want to equip the charged battery and not the light bulb, so you want to end it on the battery so that you can just equip it and leave the menu as soon as possible. You want to bring the battery right up here to activate the generator. At this point, you want to be careful with your mashing, because if you talk to the generator again, you get shocked. It's a cutscene with an animation that wastes like a second. Like if I do it again. Okay, well, I can't do it again, but there's usually like a second before you hear a shock sound, and then another second before Nico's like, ow, I got shocked. It's not a good thing. But now you want to go to this computer. There's a few text boxes here, and then you want to, there's another Windows text box. I press enter to skip those. And now in my documents, you see, if I go to the right setup, I clicked the wrong setup there, but it's fine. If I go to my documents now, you see document.oneshot, and that's the document with the safe password. You want to get to the safe you want to try and open this as soon as possible. And you want to make sure your notepad is open on a good part of the screen, like try and do to the right of the game, or to the left of the game if your splits are on the right of the game. So what I like to try to do is I like to try and open it like that while fast traveling to the cliffs there. And then you see the password is really easy to see. 1, 5. This password is random every time, so just go with what the game gives you. Actually, that's a text box where I messed up. You want to click the bottom choice, I had my ways, because if you click that, it immediately skips to what's in the safe instead of having to go with the extra text box that you saw me hit. As soon as you have done this safe puzzle, you don't need your documents anymore, unless you're doing a different category, but we're not doing a different category, we're just doing any percent, so we can close it. It's usually slow to close, so I'll usually close it during a cutscene, or not close it at all if I plan to do more attempts, so you can just leave your documents up. You can minimize them if you want, but either way, moving on. The next thing you want to do now is open the safe, get your gas mask, and your journal. And then there's this cutscene, there's one text box, you run off, and now we're headed to, now we need the gas mask. We did everything we could in this area before getting the gas masks, just because of the way the sequence of the game works. So now we're in the old factory, and the first thing we're gonna do is travel. Fast travel, super fast travel rather, to the old factory to get to the factory itself sooner. You want to equip the crowbar so you can get into the back to get the sponge, and then get the gloves. And the reason you do this specific sequence is because whenever you enter from this one tile door, you enter on the left side of this two tile door. So it's faster to just get this, so you don't have to do an extra tile of running when you want to go to get the gloves. And then your next step is going to be to head to the dormitories to the west. Try and stay low here. This area right here, it may look like there's about to be a cutoff, but the loading zone is before that cutoff. So if you try and stay as low as possible, you can walk on as little tiles as possible to make it to the dormitories and do your super fast travel, which I already did, so don't do it again. And go up to the hospital to get the syringe. Try and walk out of the door as soon as possible. It's a one tile door on the outside, so it'll always put you in the same place, and then immediately just walk left to the shrimp swamp. Do your normal super fast travel, and equip the syringe between your fast travel and getting to this bubble. There's two text boxes after the small pause if you want to use that as a cue to stop mashing. You want to equip the bottle anytime between there and the bubble and the vent on the ground. There's only one text box after the pause for the vent, so make sure of that. And then you want to combine the syringe and the smoke. And then you want to combine the sponge and the acid. And then you want to combine this, and then you want to equip the sponge, not combine it, and then fast travel to the docks. Because now we're about to clean off the robot. So here you have two cutscenes to mash through. This can be kind of confusing, because I actually like to use the dialogue. When you get to a point in this game where you know everything, you can kind of read the dialogue as a visual cue. And so when you see, speak to the head engineer, you should know the cutscene's about to end. And as soon as it ends, fast travel to the lookout point, because Silver, who lives right at the lookout point, is actually the head engineer. So you talk to Silver to get the amber, and then this cutscene is required. If you try and walk out of the door, it'll happen anyway, so I like to just keep mashing and start the game of chess with Silver. This is a very important story cutscene, but we just have to keep mashing because it's not important. This is a speed run. The story's good, but we just don't have the time for it right now. Maybe on a different type of playthrough, but once you're out of the house, you can fast travel back to the docks before talking to Robot. You want to equip the amber once more. And keep mashing until this happens, and that's the Barrens. For the Barrens, this cutscene right here on the boat cannot be sped up at all, so don't try to speed it up. Simply put. So that's the first portion of the game. An average split here can be under 9 minutes is usually a good goal that I aim for. I have a bit of slower loading computer than some people, so some people can go quite a bit lower, but that's about average. Good can be under 850 or 845 even if you're like if I'm really on my mark. But you should really aim for like maybe under 9, or if your movement's not too clean yet, under 930 can be alright. But that's it for this episode. I'm gonna split this up because I don't want to do all of this in one take, and I don't know how to video edit, but also I know some people might not want to like jump through a VOD or a really long video, even though I could timestamp it. It's just easier for me, and maybe easier for a viewer. So I'm going to do this tutorial in parts, so I'll see you in the next time we're going to speedrun the Glen. And thank you. I hope this tutorial is helping you finish the game faster than you would ever hoped. See you later.